If you look at all the parliamentarian speeches in the last 5 years or 4 years, you see that they are talking not to the other parliamentarians across from them, they're talking to the algorithms. They want to say something, win the most trending video.
Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of the Docs podcast. Today I have a very special guest, someone I've known, someone I've seen grow up and grown up with. It's none other than Mr. Harinda Fonseka, who is a social entrepreneur and the founder of gudppl. So Harinda, first of all, thank you for coming and it's a pleasure to have you on the show.
Thank you for having me.
As always. This term, social entrepreneur, let's start with that. Explain to us what this means.
Social entrepreneur, in Sinhala we would say Samaja Vivasayakaya, means that a entrepreneur that is focused on improving the well-being of the society and or the environment through their company or their business endeavor. So that is the core focus. Rather than prioritizing endless profit growth, they are focused on improving the quality of life for other human beings or other living beings and the planet.
Right. Interesting. Actually, Madam, that's the first time I heard the singular term for it, Samaja Vivasayakaya, right?
Vivasayakaya.
Vivasayakaya, there you go. So that's very interesting. So, Harinda, the reason that I wanted to have you on the show is that I see you do a lot of work for mental health. Opening these tough discussions and it's something that interested me greatly because I am an advocate for mental health and men's mental health.
Yeah.
Because I don't see enough men speaking about the problems that men face. But this discussion is not just about men. And I would like to ask you, I know why I got into it, but I would like to ask you what made you walk that difficult path?
So in terms of starting gudppl, I lived abroad in Canada for 10 years and I moved back home 10 years ago. And I wanted to give back to the society, and the Canadian culture is pretty much invested in volunteering. In Sinhala we would say Swecha Sevik. I wanted to volunteer and I found the whole process of volunteering a bit overwhelming in Sri Lanka, simply because many of my friends were busy with other life commitments and jobs and things like that. And the ones who were volunteering were either students or retired people, not necessarily working professionals.
Right.
And I thought, it's important that we give back to the society. It's important that we get involved in social and environmental issues and not wait till we retire to get involved in these things. So I thought of starting gudppl platform where we can bring together people who want to support or help out in the society and connect them with organizations, charities and other entities who need their support. So that's how gudppl started 9 years ago now. And since then we have evolved now. So what we are offering right now is for students to record their volunteer activities after the volunteer event.
Right.
Because as well as for corporates and employees. Because the biggest request I have received, students want a verified record of their volunteer history.
Correct.
To apply for universities,
Yes.
scholarships and other types of reward programs, award programs. And also the schools are interested in exploring volunteering as a mechanism to help students increase their skills and develop their skills.
Right.
So we are focused on working with schools, students and corporates right now, as well as charities too. Basically, it's a platform to track and verify their volunteer impact.
Right. I'm just going to throw a cat in the snowblower and ask you an interesting question. I noticed something you said, record their volunteer work after they've done it.
Yes.
Not during.
Yes.
That's an interesting thing you brought up because a lot of voluntary work I see, since I spend a large amount of my time on social media, I see it being done for the likes and I see it being done for all the wrong reasons. Yeah. And I'm glad you said that it's done after the fact. So there is no monetization, there is no, what's the word for it? There are eka varadira පාවිච්චි කරන්නේ නැහැ. It's always a record of it after the fact. And this brings me to the next question I want to ask you. අපි මේ කලින් discuss කරලා හිටියේ මරු කතාවක් you said this the lack of human connection or the lack of it, the human connections or the lack of it. Right? And the need for there to be more human connections. What's your take on this?
I'll get to that, but I want to share my thoughts about what you talked about recording.
Yeah.
Pingpota is not a new concept.
That's a good one.
Right? It's not new.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
in other ways, this is a digital Pingpota.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's a charity book where people get a chance to record for their own personal journey, see what skills they are developing and how are they strengthening it, and to understand. So if you are having a not so good day, you can go through the impact you have made, right? And it's
personally,
and it's
exactly.
good. It's really good, because if we do not celebrate the good we do in our world, our entire information diet is going to be crowded with all the bad things that's happening in the world.
Correct.
And the more we consume that content, the more we believe the world is full of selfish people, right? And then it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Api hambugura tapi kana mentality, right? So why would I actually help another person when I can just take care of myself?
Correct.
And then that leads into a very atomized society, individualist society. Mama thaniyamma thamai metanata aave mentality. I got here alone.
Taniyama gameak gala.
Taniyama gameak gala, which I am actually I do not believe in that. That's actually flawed. I will get to that in a moment. And I think it's important that we celebrate the good that's happening.
Correct.
And if we do not do that, we are missing out opportunities to encourage good behavior.
Correct.
And celebrate the goodness in our society. And this is where the human connection comes into play. And if we do not see good in others, the entire trust, social trust fabric is being ripped apart. Leading us to thinking that we would rather trust a machine or another entity than another human being, leading to isolation, loneliness, doubt, all these other secondary effects, sometimes primary too, that would affect our social health, our mental health, then also our physical health, and resulting in affecting our planetary health. Because these are all interconnected.
Correct. Absolutely. Something very, very interesting that you mentioned there that I picked up on is that you said to the extent that it's bad is everywhere. The good you do, you tend to easily forget. And I'll give you something to cement this from a medical point of view. Our brains always like to dwell on the bad. Somehow bad sells. I mean, take a simple example, Machang. You just turn a TV on in the evenings. You turn to any TV channel, blanketly. All these soaps that run, the single-use shows, right? They glorify such bad events, and people are hooked on them. None of them celebrate good things. You know, when we were kids, we saw sitcoms like Full House or Perfect Strangers, where the good were being celebrated. Those were happy times.
Even Ambayalu.
Yeah, there you go, right? Ambayalu, they were good times being celebrated. But then came along these long-drawn dramas where I see there's a lot of negativity, and it's just people are naturally drawn to negativity. What's your take on this?
It's the attention economy, right? The most, I recently wrote an article to the papers, how our attention is, basically these companies are attention pirates.
Correct.
They're stealing our attention, they're monetizing it, right? And Facebook or other social media companies competing with Netflix and other entities that are also competing for our attention.
Attention is the single most valuable currency now, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes. So if that's the case, in order to try and keep you hooked, keep you in front of their product, basically, they will have a constant stream of content that would increase your fight or flight responses.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Getting to a point where you just normalize violence, you are normalizing these things, you become numb to it. And then you don't get the same level of response. And this becomes this recursive behavior. We are seeing more and more violence now. Some thinkers like Steven Pinker and others might come up with a narrative saying, the world is safer and we have made progress compared to 500,000 years ago or 500 years ago, 1,000 years ago. But based on what metrics? And are we, because they are measuring progress from with narrow metrics. Yes, of course, there's been, you're a doctor, medical advancement and all these things, that's true. But at what expense? All of these things we are telling one side of the story, not necessarily widening our boundary to see the entire picture. And I believe human connections, our social connections are very important, this type of face-to-face. And of course, I know the audience is looking at this through a digital device, but I am totally pro human connection without a digital interface as much as possible, whenever possible. And I know it's not possible all the time, so that we can actually take care of each other and not outsource our humanity, our compassion to a machine.
To machines. If at all, the way I see it, and there's an interesting point you brought up about not having a digital interface. I see the digital interface as a gateway through to human connection. What I try to stress upon, even for the people watching right now, is reach out to a human. The message here is when you're in trouble or when you need to reach out to a human, as opposed to reaching out to a device, right? So if the device that we use right now, if the message we give you right now through this device is for you to reach out to a human being, this device is a gateway. The way I look at it, it can be used properly if, again, it needs to be used and utilized in the proper way.
I have a slightly different opinion about that.
Tell us.
So I believe that's a nice way of thinking about the world.
But it's not what happens,
But that's not the truth, right?
True.
It's like we tell people, well, it's the consumer that is responsible to take care of the plastic waste, not the producer, right? We think technology is values neutral. It's not, right? There's most likely some people will be watching this through TikTok or YouTube. We are saying that, okay, see this message and go talk to a person. But those platforms are hell-bent on keeping them glued
to their platform.
So our values are contradicting now, it's opposing, and the minute that they scroll to the next one, somehow that platform is going to deliver them something where they would get a small micro dopamine hit
rather than
dealing with the annoyance of calling a friend, seeing them, and then go through that. You know, have you noticed when you get a call from a person, how you react to it versus a message? Now, 10 years, I know that, right? 30 years ago, if you had a relative show up at your house randomly,
they'll be welcome.
They'll be welcome. It's not weird. But if you have a relative showing up at your house without notifying you now,
it's a hindrance.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Why?
What changed? No?
Right? And again, a lot of people, I recently found out there are TikTok trends where people are celebrating when their friends' meetups are cancelled. Like, so they have pre-planned agenda to meet up with a friend, and the friend is calling and say, sorry, we have to reschedule. And then they are making a video how they are celebrating the fact that they're not hanging out with the friend.
We were shying away from human connections.
Yes, and then we talk about this anxiety. Right? We have songs about anxiety. That's topping the charts.
That's trending, exactly.
Right?
God, yes.
It's a badge of honor to have these challenges. And again, I'm not saying we should look down upon it. There are real issues about anxiety. There are real mental health issues. We need to raise awareness, I get it.
Yes.
How we raise awareness is very important.
Exactly. This is exactly why you're here as well, because you mentioned something very interesting podcast where you said we've started to celebrate these things.
Yes.
Depression, anxiety. How did we go from, these labels, right? Once which we try to avoid, now are not just being accepted, they're being celebrated.
So my wife is a suicidologist,
Yeah.
and she once coined this term when we were talking. She said, "We are seeing trauma Olympics." Like
That's a good one.
my trauma is bigger than
Then
your
your trauma,
trauma,
yeah, that
and this comparing
yeah,
and contrasting on social media,
Exactly.
right? And why, right? So the thing is that we need to help each other, help other humans to overcome and move forward to live a life to their fullest potential,
Correct.
right? But what's happening, not with all organizations, but let's say a media company, an advertising company that is now trying to raise awareness about, let's say, mental health, and they want to run a campaign, and they make a story about this person's trauma, and then they try to get them to give the most deepest details about it.
Yeah, yeah.
And then without knowing, sometimes subconsciously we are comparing, okay, this person's story is really horrible, so that needs sharing, versus this one, I hope it's a push story, so it's not that as bad and we are not going to share it. And then what happens to the person who mustered up the courage to share their story and then realize nobody is there to listen to it?
Exactly.
Or like, how does that affect their
That person.
psyche?
And I'm thinking, when you just said that, there's actually a person sitting behind a desk at the computer going through people's trauma and voting on which is the best trauma.
Yes, that's messed
How
up.
screwed up is that, right? We
Yeah.
recently had an ad campaign. I remember, I won't mention who it was, but there was this company that did two things. For Mother's Day, they said, Ammagin hapu the best benuma, you heard from the mother, and Father's Day, Tatagen kapu hondama gutiya. I mean, they were giving awards to the best stories. So there was a guy sitting there, a guy or a girl choosing the best trauma. I mean,
And is that the right way? And they might say, well, you know what, we any attention is good attention, and they may, and we are talking about it today.
this is why stupid people are famous.
Right? So of course we are actually confusing confidence with competence.
Yeah, yeah.
And people who confidently come out and say stupid things are rewarded
Absolutely.
over the competent ones
Who are
have
confident,
the who have the humility to know that I don't know all of it, so I'm going to kind of tone down my messaging and say, listen, you know, I am fairly confident about this, and these are things I don't know. You try to put a thoughtful, nuance post on social media, or say that on mainstream media even, it would not go anywhere. Why? Because mainstream media is driven by social media. If you look at all the parliamentarians' speeches in the last 5 years or 4 years, you see that they are talking not to the other parliamentarians across from them, they're talking to the algorithms. They want to say something to win the most trending video. So there's
yes, absolutely, yeah.
Ar hingannage tuale, right? Like there's no incentive to fix the problem.
Yeah.
Ar madeda hodana,
It's not doing anything except gaining them attention. It's not
Yes.
doing anything to fix it.
Yes.
Absolutely, yeah.
And then we think, you know, why isn't the world progressing? And then we have this obsession, okay, well, we should have a CEO running the country because it'll be efficient.
And then you have America, where they elected the CEO and see where they are now, right? Interesting.
So I think these are all interconnected, how we see the world, what we choose to do, what we choose not to do. And it is important to push back thoughtfully, respectfully, non-violently, and have these conversations and tell them, listen, you've done your part to actually misguide us. Time for good people to rise up, no pun intended, but to say, okay, you know what, these are the people who are doing good in our society. We are going to recognize them. We are going to celebrate them. They deserve the best possible opportunities, because they are the ones who are showing through action, not just through talk. Right?
Not
because
through likes and
exactly.
share.
So,
exactly, yeah.
so the analogy I would like to share with you is that think about going to a cricket match. You have all the players playing the match, At the end, and you have spectators, at the end of the cricket match, man of the match award goes to the loudest one who shouted, imagine.
Not the guy who performed, yeah.
Not the guy who performed, right? So then, sooner or later, the players are going to think, what's the point of playing? Yeah. I'd rather be a commentator, because all the incentives are directed at the commentator, the spectators who are loudly shouting. There's no incentive to actually play in the game of democracy or human civilization, right? So we are training people to be spectators of life. Denade kala venade balagade mindset, right? And it's really infuriating in many ways to me to see this nonsense that we are glorifying people from other countries who have created these products, these platforms that are ripping our society apart and treating them like gods. I have been at many startup events where some of the keynote speakers are talking about, we should revere this person, move fast and break things. And I'm thinking, what are you talking about? Don't be stupid. Like, we need to simmer down, think about what do we want to achieve as humans, as a civilization, how are we going to do that and get to work fast, because there's a expiry date that's coming up very soon. Climate change is happening really fast. Automation that is affecting a lot of jobs, and how we educate, interact with people is affecting. There's some energy crisis that's in the loom.
Coming up,
I'm sure as a doctor you understand the possibility of having antibiotic resistant superbugs coming from the factory farms, right? We see so many big issues, like the ocean is dying, right? All of these issues are converging at the same time, and I think we have about not to alarm the audience, but I think we have about another 2 to 3 years to actively get involved to try and change this. Otherwise, it's not going to be too late, but it's going to be really, really hard
really
to change.
Yeah.
Because if you want, we can talk a little bit about the artificial intelligence and AI, but
that, Harinda, is something that I would like to have you back on another day to discuss in detail.
Okay. So basically, what I would like to talk about is, like, when these things are coming together, we need to understand how can we increase and improve our collective action. This is a collective action problem. People know there's a problem. Not everyone knows, but many people know that there's a problem. Governments are coming together through different treaties and mediated by UN and different entities. And unfortunately, most of these treaties, most of these agreements don't hold enough for
they're just paper.
They're just paper, and the problems are continuing.
Ignored.
And this is why I am trying to encourage people to get involved in their communities locally as much as possible. Ideally, once a week, if you can volunteer. If the companies are coming up with a new program, say, okay, fine, we would encourage our employees to volunteer once a month, right? We give you 8 hours, go volunteer wherever you want to volunteer. That will help with the employee well-being, their mental health, their social connections. If the schools are encouraging volunteering, all these things will help us come together, increase our trust for each other, increase empathy, compassion.
Absolutely.
A great way to develop new skills, make new friends, new opportunities, and also and the most important thing is find purpose. A lot of people find purpose by giving back.
Absolutely. Thank you, Harinda. It has been a very interesting conversation, and I'm glad you adequately summarized the whole ethos of good people. And why volunteering is important, and the importance of building human social connections. So, I mean, it was a very interesting chat. You've given me more things to think about. And I would definitely like to have you back someday. We'll talk about the advent of AI and what it means for human connections. And in the meantime, if you have questions about what Harinda does, about good people, about everything we spoke about human connections, please leave them in the comments and we will answer them as soon as we can. But for the moment, thank you so much, Harinda, for your time. It was a pleasure to have you.
Thank you. And unfortunately, most of these treaties, most of these agreements don't hold enough for
They're just paper.
They're just paper, and the problems are continuing.
Yeah.
And,
Ignored.
and this is why I am trying to encourage people to get involved in their communities locally as much as possible. Ideally, once a week, if you can volunteer. If the companies are coming up with a new program, say, okay, fine, we would encourage our employees to volunteer once a month, right? We give you 8 hours, go volunteer wherever you want to volunteer. That will help with the employee well-being, their mental health,
absolutely,
their social connections.
Yeah.
If the schools are encouraging volunteering, all these things will help us come together, increase our trust for each other, increase empathy, compassion.
Absolutely.
A great way to develop new skills, make new friends, new opportunities, and also and the most important thing is find purpose. A lot of people find purpose by giving back.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Harinda. It has been a very interesting conversation, and I'm glad you adequately summarized the whole ethos of good people and why volunteering is important and the importance of building human social connections. So, I mean, it was a very interesting chat. You've given me more things to think about, and I would definitely like to have you back someday. We'll talk about the advent of AI and what it means for human connections. And in the meantime, if you have questions about what Harinda does, about good people, about everything we spoke about human connections, please leave them in the comments and we will answer them as soon as we can. But for the moment, thank you so much, Harinda, for your time. It was a pleasure to have you.
Thank you.